If you have a television pilot idea, but you have no idea how to get started, then stick around because this video is for you. If you don't know me, hey, I'm Charla. I'm a screenwriter, a comedian, and a coach who helps creatives find a way to work that works for them. And here are the 5 steps that I recommend walking yourself through to get ready to write your pilot. So, the first step to get yourself ready to write your pilot is to determine whether or not your idea is a good idea. So, a lot of screenwriters will ask me, Charla, how do I know if my idea is a good idea? And here's what I always say. The way to know if your idea is a good idea is whether or not you are excited about it. And here's why I say that, because if you are excited about an idea, then that excitement is going to drive you to learn whatever you need to learn, connect with whoever you need to connect with, and do whatever you need to do to get that idea executed. So if you don't have the excitement about that idea, you really can't teach excitement. You can't learn excitement. You either are excited about your idea or you're not. And I think the other important part about being excited about an idea is that your excitement is telling you about your taste in ideas. As a creative, one of the things that you're really going to be developing is your taste, your style. What do you think is good? And in order to really build up that ability, the ability to know whether or not something is good, you're going to have to get used to checking in with yourself about whether or not you like something instead of scanning the environment and checking with everybody else. Meaning, you're gonna have to stop needing that validation from the world, from other people, to let you know whether or not an idea is good. And the thing is, we all need that validation. That's the only way we become successful, is if other people find our ideas good. But in order to actually get that idea out into the world, it's a little bit counterintuitive because you're the one who has to think it's so good that it's worth working towards executing. So, in order to determine whether or not an idea is a good idea, practice checking in with yourself and asking yourself, hey, am I excited about this idea? And if the answer is yes, then that means it's a good idea and it's one worth pursuing. So now that you've figured out whether or not the idea is good enough to pursue, the next step is to let go of expectations and perfectionism around your idea. So, one of the things that I see so much amongst creatives and screenwriters that I work with is this perfectionism around really incomplete ideas. Like when you're just starting to ideate something, when you're just starting to put together the bits and pieces that are going to become your pilot script, I think one of the worst things you can do is start to judge and edit and say no to ideas because you think they're bad, you think they're not good enough, you think they don't belong, because this is really going to kill the process. It's really going to slow down your creative process. It's going to make you feel super uncomfortable just vomiting out the ideas that you need to get out on the page so that you can refine them and make them better. So if you're in this place where you're noticing that every single idea you have about your pilot, you shoot it down, it's important to check that voice inside, that editor inside, that perfectionist inside that's really not allowing you to be creative. And the way to do that is to be understanding and compassionate and patient with yourself. And to remind yourself moment by moment that this is something that you're working on. This is something that you're going to be refining. This is something that's going to get better. You're going to get better. So allow yourself to be bad in the beginning. Allow yourself to be not perfect and to be incomplete and to just let yourself unload these ideas so that you can refine them later, so that you can get it to a place in the future where it is a perfect quote unquote script, which doesn't exist, by the way. So the next thing that you're going to need to do to get started with your pilot idea is, if you are really just getting started, I highly recommend watching and reading a lot of TV. Read television scripts. Watch the shows that you want to create. Read the scripts that you want to write. One of the best things that you can do is to start to get a sense of the rhythm and pacing and structure of these television episodes and these TV scripts so that you can get into the groove easily when you start your own script. Reading scripts, watching television shows, and then dissecting them and taking notes on what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you didn't like. It's one of the best ways that you're going to start getting your mind going and getting the ideas churning. This is not copying. This is really getting inspiration and getting to understand the medium as much as possible so that you can really immerse yourself in it as you start to gather your ideas and start your idea and start writing your pilot script. My next step for you is to read the book TV Writing Toolkit: How to Write a Pilot That Sells by Jen Grisanti. It is the book that I use inside of my Zero to Pilot course. It is the book that I read whenever I'm about to write a pilot script. It was recommended to me by one of my favorite television writers who I worked with many years ago, and I've continued to use it because it's a really small, tiny book. It's really straightforward and to the point, and it gives you a sense of how to actually write a TV pilot that really sells because Jen is really walking you through the things that executives and television networks and studios are looking for in your script when you're writing that script. So it gives you a really professional, straightforward, short and to the point kind of crash course on how to write a TV pilot that sells. And then my last tip for you, if you're trying to get started with a television idea, is to do what's called blue skying. So this is not the Twitter rival app. This is a process that's used in the television writers room where the first 2 weeks of the room, writers come in and we essentially do a brain dump. We just think broadly about the show, the characters, the story arcs, the character arcs, jokes, dialogue, anything that's coming up during that 1 to 2 week process are ideas that we can use and sift through and refine and enlarge throughout the show. We can either use it in the pilot script or we can use it later on in the show. And I think it's something that you absolutely should do for your pilot idea. It's something that I do for every pilot idea that I have. Sometimes I'll just walk around with a little notebook and I'll write ideas down, even if I'm watching something. If I'm watching a show, it could be a notes app in my phone. If I'm reading a book, I'm reading something and it inspires me, it gives me an idea for a scene or for dialogue or whatever. Even music sometimes will give me an idea for a scene, which music is a really great way to visualize your ideas. It's one of the ways that I work whenever I'm listening to something. It helps me actually see how a scene could go around this song. So, however you work, blue skying is a really great way to get a sense of, hey, how does my mind ideate? How does my mind come up with ideas? What ideas do I have for this show? What scene ideas do I have for this show? What dialogue ideas do I have for this show? And when you're writing it down, you're really creating a blueprint that you're later going to be using for your pilot. Also, I forgot to mention that I created a free blue sky guide to help you get started, and you can find the link for that down in the description. I really hope that you found this helpful. If it was, give me a like and subscribe. And if you need help, go to getthatwork.com and check out the resources that I have for screenwriters and creatives. That's all I've got for now. Until next time, get out there, get to work.